Hey everyone. So here we are. And it's Friday. Hi, Debbie from sunny Arizona, and Louisa from London, Aoki from Rotterdam. It's nearly 9 o'clock. I know we're keeping you up. Aoki, if you're like me, this is 9 o'clock is late. My husband is always lining up, queuing up a whole bunch of different things for us to watch at night. And then inevitably 9:30 comes around and I'm asleep. So, hi, Jean from the UK, and Karen and Judy. Pronounce my name, Judy, it's Ariane. So, that's how you pronounce my name, Ariane. So, I'm happy to see everyone. And I think we should just dive right in. You can see where is it? There, my water soluble pastels. I have some water, I've got paintbrushes, I've got Inktense sticks, I've got a whole bunch of stuff. So, hi Gwen. So I'm going to turn you around. I'll get my lighting set up. Thank you to those of you who's given me a thumbs up, as always, appreciated. Oops, wait, here we go. That was my hand, all right. I'm gonna turn you around, lots of lighting. And first thing I'll do is show you what I've been doing. The insanity here. I've got to get some light. Got to get my tripod set up. Hi, Delinda. How are you? So here we go. So what I started to do. Hi, Melinda from Washington. And hang on, I'm going to pull this over. All right. And let's see. All right, so I've got my lighting. All right, so for those of you who have watched me with this, struggling with this guy, this whole area here was pretty much without color. So I went in with my Caran d'Ache. Hi, Lynn from Cape Cod. Oh, we used to go to Cape Cod every summer. So there are my Caran d'Ache. Here are my Inktense. Hi, Aoki. And Donna from Milwaukee. Is that how you pronounce Milwaukee, Oregon? All right. So I started to paint. I took out my paints. I started to paint. I put this is some t-shirt. This is cheesecloth. I added a little burlap down here. This is the cheesecloth that I hand dyed. And as you can see, I painted right over stitching. I mean, I just kind of went to town, put cheesecloth over this stitch, took some things out that were here, but I wanted to get some larger motion going, and it all was feeling, as I had been telling you, this way, and I wanted to start getting sort of the round. I've gone radical, Lynn says, exactly. So I did go rounder, right? I got some of my round shapes here. This is burlap, this is cheesecloth. This, for those of you who were watching last time, I started doing a feather stitch, just kind of random. I added some bullion knots. A couple of you said, oh, bullion knots. I said, yeah, good idea. Went right into the cheesecloth here, added a whole bunch of stuff. I did some seed stitch, French knots, and now I'm just adding, and I'm just stitching right over. So I pin this down, but then I'm doing a seed stitch with a sheep silk. Over here, I did a bunch of French knots in let's see, what did I do? Silken pearl, which is between a 5 and an 8 weight. And then I did this, which is a 8 weight house of embroidery. You can see my painting. I went right over. So before I start stitching on here, which I thought if we have time I would do, I thought, well, let me show you how I'm doing the painting. So here's one piece that I've painted. Asperges. Okay, I don't know what you're referring to, but maybe someone was asking something that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about and you're answering. I'm not sure. Okay, so here we go. So this I started doing with Inktense, this part. You can see there's some sort of globs, which I'm just going to brush away. It's a little blurred so far. It's a vegetable. Asparagus? Is that what you mean? Or aubergine? Anyway, all right, I'm going to keep going because I can't figure out what you guys are talking about. If you're talking to me specifically, let me tell you. Tell me, and I'll try to... Hi, Pat. Okay, so here we go with this. And I have my little... I have some paintbrushes here. And I've got... This is both my Inktense. So I'm going to come in with my paintbrush, and I'm just going to add this, and then I'm going to add some of this, which is my Inktense. And this one, it's kind of a, I don't know, what would you call that, an indigo, or it's a pretty dark blue, but it's not a solid blue. There's quite a bit of black in there. And then when I add this white, I'm getting this kind of fabulous slate. So I can come in now. And hi, Jenny, from, I don't know how to pronounce where you're from. So I can come in with a paintbrush and just sort of mess about, right? But I can also come in with my little stick here if I want it a little more intense. And I can just kind of go in and add a little. Now I'm doing this through the camera lens, so it's actually a little, the perspective's a little off, but I can add a little. So I want a little darkness, say, here. I'm gonna put this in the water. You can see how I've dipped it in the water, and then I'm gonna just sort of do this, right? And then if I want to come back, does the paint make the fabric stiff? No, it doesn't. That's what I love about these. All right, so here, and I'll show you in a second when I finish demonstrating. So this is on an old t-shirt, right? And I'm just kind of doing this. And then if I want to add some color, I can do that as well. Or if I want to dilute some of what I've got, I can also do that. And remember, this is wet, so it's going to look darker than what it actually is. I can blur these colors together by getting... you can also use a spray bottle to spray this to make it a little... blur up a little bit so that they blend all together. You don't have to have a paintbrush. If you don't have a paintbrush, you can just go straight onto the t-shirt fabric with your little bit of whatever, you know. So here I've got some white. And I can just kind of do this. You know, it's not, there's no science here. You also are going to get, you know, your fingers are going to get pretty dirty. That's okay. I'm using this as my little rag to clean my fingers. So that's the Inktense. Now, what I wanted to show you, someone was asking, does it make it stiff? So look at this. I mean, this is, I'm pulling it apart. There's no stiff. Does the paint clean up from? Yes, it does. I just have to, it's water soluble, remember? So, I mean, under my nails, I'm going to need a brush of some kind to scrub. But, you know, if you're going out somewhere and you're doing this right before you leave, you might want to use gloves. Okay, so that's the Inktense. Now I'm going to show you, this is my Caran d'Ache. I love these. I love this color in particular. It's a gray, but look what it does when I use it on here. By the way, if you saw the last thing that I showed with the t-shirt, you know this because I told you. This was a white t-shirt, and I steeped it in black tea for, I don't know, a while, a couple hours. I sort of like, I boiled up the tea. I put a whole bunch of tea bags. I let it get really dark. I took the tea bags out. I dropped the t-shirt in and I went for a walk. And when I came back, I took it out and I let it just dry. I think I might have tossed it in the dryer. I can't remember. Anyway, so here we are with this gray, which isn't really so gray as much as it's got a little blue to it, which I like. So that's that. Now, if I have an area, let's say, I don't know, let's say here, and I don't like this, what I can do is I can just go right over it. It doesn't say I don't like that bit. It's too whatever. It's too blue. It's too something. I just paint right over it. So there we have that. What else? Oh, okay. Cheesecloth. So here's my cheesecloth. The same. I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm just going to, I'm going to do whatever I want here. Same thing. I can do my paintbrush. Again, go into my paints here and make it. And then if I want it to be, are you stretching the knit to get paint into the fibers? When you do, Phil, when you do this with the water, which, I do. You could do it dry, but I do it with water. It saturates. I've always used Inktense, designed for fabric, best if heat set to make permanent. Okay, well, that's good to know, Pat. So putting it in the dryer will for sure heat set it, unless you want to iron it, which you could also do. I think if it were me, I'd probably put some kind of lightweight cloth over, just in case so I don't know if it would do anything to my iron, but I think I would do that. So do you just use the cheesecloth you get from yes, use from the grocery store, Gwen's asking. Someone told me that I wasn't reading the comments and I was just answering, and that they were watching after the fact and they had no idea what I was talking about or laughing about. So I promised them that I would be better about this. So that's why I'm reading your comments when I'm answering. Yeah, so the cheesecloth is exactly the kind of thing that you would use in the kitchen. Same stuff. So, there it is. And I'm just kind of dabbing. And the nice thing about, if you do have a paintbrush, nothing fancy, it can just be a cheap paintbrush. You don't get your hands all dirty. And so there we go. So that's the cheesecloth. And then I'm going to let this dry. Both of these things, I'm gonna let them dry. And then what I do is, I'm going to clean this. And here's the beauty of this. You just use your fabric and clean your surface off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to let everything dry, and then I'm going to start cutting it up. And I think for those of you who saw me with the t-shirt fabric, I cut them up. I cut up little spindly things, like they have legs. If you want something that looks like lichen, or if you want, on my Olia piece, I did bits of this kind of t-shirt, and it sort of resembles a lichen to it. Or you can make larger shapes and, not do lichen-like pieces, but do something that's more round, or whatever you like. all right, someone asked me something and I was looking away. So is there a way to copy and paste and repeat it? I'm sorry, I was trying to get my hands clean. I'm gonna wait while I know you don't want to have to watch me wash my hands, but there it is. I don't want to touch my linen with paint all over my hands. So there we go. Okay. I have used pastel chalks and it makes pretty soft colors. Right. Lynn, that's exactly, yes. So I'm going to put this down so you have something more interesting to look at than my hands. And I don't know if Carol is on the live stream, but Carol sent me, I've got to pull back. Carol sent me a ton of this, which I've never heard of, and amazing. Look at this. Silk. This is all from Treenway Silks. And so I feel as though I've got to do something with this, right? And this is like, it's hard. It's not soft. It's like a hardened, but it's really cool. I don't know if you can stitch through it or not. And then there's like a whole pod here. And then she sent me this. Look at this. And they're all different colors. This kind of amazing silk. Have any of you seen this? It's called Treenway Silks Dyed Silk Hankies. But look at those colors. Is that just amazing? I've, again, no idea, never seen this, never heard of it. Not sure what I'm going to do with it, but maybe something, right? That's pretty cool. Maybe I can just pull a little bit and these are gorgeous. I know, right? Look at this, purple. Another different purple. A kind of pink. Look at that yellow. Vibrant yellow. I think the Perth Thread Store has them. Belinda, what do they do with them? Look at this. This is looking more blue through the camera, but it's actually a little more turquoisey. Look at that vibrant purple. I know, it's so exciting. Look at that red. And this one, I love that color. And then this kind of white, which, amazing, right? So, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I sort of hate pulling it apart, but I'm going to think about it, and I figure if I can incorporate, I would assume they're used in art quilts or textile art. Exactly. So why not put in here, right? I could do something like that. All right. So use white Inktense for shading. Are you talking about on here, Pat? Oh, it's used in felting, Judy is saying. Okay. So I bought them for my shop when I went to Ali Pali show in England. Sally, what did you do with them? Like, what do people do with them? I'll wait for you to answer that. And in the meantime, I'm going to show you, this is my t-shirt, right? So for the t-shirt, I'm just going to do the same thing that I'm doing here with this. Go on the site and watch Dale Rollerson's videos. Denny told me about the shop. I ordered thread and it got to me in less than 2 days. Okay, I will do that. So here we go. Here's my little bit of cheesecloth. I'm using some, this is from the Thread Gatherer. It's called Pueblo Stone. Treenway site. Yes, Phil, that's exactly right. It's from Treenway. I'll go there and look. I just found a box of that silk in my attic today, exactly like that. Oh, wow. Well, All right, we're going to figure out how to use it. So I'm using this sheep's silk, and I'm just coming in here, and I'm just doing how to use silk hankies. Yes, I know, lucky me, exactly. And I'm just gonna do, so forgive my fingernails. I would scrub these. I'll let you know how hard it is to get this out. Usually I scrub them right away, so I actually don't. Oh, you spin them. That's interesting. Added to our cross-stitch designs is grass, crazy quilting, art quilts. You just stitch it down or felt down. Okay. Well, look at you guys. You all know much more than I do about any of this. I'd never even heard of such a thing. But I was very excited to get it. So I'm just doing, again, I'm just adding layers. And one of the things that I realized was that I was having trouble with was as all of you know, the color was problematic. It's kind of a flesh color, which is fine, but it's not really a color that, I find terribly exciting. So I was having trouble with the color. And I was also having trouble with the fact that this is a big piece, and and as I had said in the other live stream, I was getting all this kind of following the striations, this sort of slightly slanted asymmetric movement. And even though I added some of these rounded shapes, I was still feeling it needed some bigger curved movement. So that's what I've been concentrating on now. I'm working on just looking at this whole piece and trying to figure out what can I add that's going to that will make how do I say this? That will make my eye move. Will you post when we can get those hankies? Yes, I will have to do some research because one of my YouTube followers, Carol, and again, thank you, Carol, that was so generous of you, sent these to me. She asked me, have you ever heard of this? I said, no. She said, I'm sending you a package. I said, okay. And then I got these and I thought, wow, amazing. But I will, there's a label on them, and I will, so TreenwaySilks.com. So it's Canadian, British Columbia. Sandy, I bet Sandy Henschel knows about these. She's with friends today, so she's not joining us, but she probably has heard of them. She lives in Canada. Could you add vintage buttons, not the plastic vintage buttons? Yeah, I do have vintage buttons, but you could add anything. I've been thinking about adding some beads. I've been thinking about all different things that I can add. You can add anything. I mean, these pieces are really more mixed media at this point, right? Than kind of sticking to any traditional way of working. I think anything goes at this point. Just did a quick search and you can find them on Etsy too. Okay. So there you go. And all, yay for Canada. Exactly. There's a lot to be said about Canada. Good things to be said about Canada. So my upstairs neighbor is, her mom lives in Canada and she's Canadian. I think one of her daughters is living in Canada right now. My father, when he came to the North America, he moved to Canada. He lived in Montreal from Paris and actually served in the Royal Air Force. I right? Royal Canadian Air Force? I believe so. I know he flew planes in World War II. Available on Etsy, Pat says. Okay. All right, so I'm just kind of going along here, and I'm just doing my little seed stitch, and I chose a color that was going to kind of blend in with the color that this hand-dyed cheesecloth is. I didn't want it to draw away too much. I wanted it to be sort of seen as a part of, with maybe just a little textural interest to it. It was the same with this. I wanted to keep the colors similar, so I used this silken pearl, and I believe this was the House of Embroidery, and just did masses of French knots. For those of you who were watching, this is the ribbon floss. Remember, I did turkey work, and that's what it turned out, which I think is pretty fabulous. This was the, I did a live stream called, I don't know, using ribbon floss or something like that. I'll link to it when when this is uploaded and we're finished and I can go in. It takes a long time, so maybe tomorrow I'll add those videos so you can, if you play back, you'll see them in the upper right-hand corner. So anyway, so the point is really you just start stitching on top, or that's what I'm doing, stitching on top. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my stripes here. This I did without water, by the way. Someone had asked about the water. This I did just dry and did my stripes. All of this is done with the Caran d'Ache and wet, and some is dry, some is wet. But you can see, and I'm stitching over some of that area that I painted. It's right here, and you can see I'm not having any trouble stitching. It doesn't change. It doesn't glump it up or anything like that. You just stitch as you would if it hadn't been painted, which is one of the really nice perks about this this material, the medium. So I'm going to go along here, and I'm just going to finish this up, and then I'm going to think about, well, what next? Hello, Ariane, and everyone from sunny Northern Virginia. This is my first time here. Your handwork is phenomenal. Hi, Marcia. It's so nice to see you, and thank you for saying hello and reaching out. That's lovely, and I'm so glad you're here. So my fingernails are dyed blue because I was demonstrating how to paint, and I was using a brush, but then I was also using this stick or the pastel without a paintbrush, and so my hands got pretty. Exactly. Artist fingers, Gwen says. That's exactly right. And prior to going live with all of you, I was on the floor with a flashlight because a whole bunch of stuff had gotten knocked down by you-know-who and was now deep under a whole bunch of other stuff. And so I had to get a fly swatter to try to pull whole things of thread that were lost from underneath this table. And when I got up, I was covered in thread and needles. I had 4 needles stuck in my pants. So that's, that just tells you how many needles are on the floor. Who knew? I had no idea I had any needles on the floor. I'm telling you, this was an unhappy surprise. Merlin was not in the room. If he had been, he would have been chasing after that fly swatter. I need reachers. I don't know what reachers are, but they sound interesting. America doesn't have flies. We do have flies. And in the summer, now it's gotten quite cold, so we don't really have any. How do you know when enough is enough? I tend to overdo. Oh, Sally, I think that's a good question. When do you know when enough is enough? You don't. You learn, I think you learn, or maybe you don't learn. I don't know. I think, so this got pretty dense, right? But, I mean, some people would say it's never enough, you know? I, um, I tend to like, Suzanne's telling me what a reacher is. It sounds great. I tend to leave open spaces. So I do dense, and then I'm going to leave this open. I mean, I know I'm going to leave this area open. I'm going to do something dense in here, and I'm going to leave this open. I'm going to do some pretty dense stitching in here and here because I want this kind of movement. And exactly, Jean. She's saying personal preference, less can be more sometimes. Exactly. I think it depends on the piece. It really depends on the piece that I'm working on. But I do, in a big piece like this, I've got a lot going on here. I'm going to put in more here. With a large piece, I definitely want some open spaces. So when I'm tired of it, Sparrow's saying, that's when I know I'm done. So I think this whole area here, I'm going to leave empty. I know I'm going to do some intense stitching in here. The answer is it depends on the piece and it depends on what I'm thinking about. Yes, so Gwen is saying open areas let the eye rest and make the dense areas more impactful. I agree. The striped area, I think I'm going to do some stitching in here. I think so. I'm not sure though. And this area, so this I did a running stitch along here, just did here this bit of cheesecloth, and then I did these little silk ribbon roses in here. This, I may just do some really long, like an exaggerated seed stitch, but making them much longer, you know, 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch long all through here. I'm not sure why I'm thinking that, but that's kind of what I'm thinking at this point. But how did you paint the stripe? It was dry, Pat. I did it, the Caran d'Ache, and I just did it dry. This was Inktense, and I was just playing around to see what it would look like dry. So I always, the big question is for me, I try not to get too ahead of myself, but I also want to think about, well, now what, you know? So I've done quite a bit of stitching. I may come back and do a bit more in here. I don't know. For now, I'm going to leave it. But now what? So I'm going to pick an area, and I'm just going to start working on it. Great addition. Thank you, Pat. So I may come in here. I may do more of these cast-on bouillon roses. I'm not sure. I may come in here and do, I did a series of these bouillons that I quite like, and maybe I'll carry that over in here and do some bouillons. This area, I haven't really done much to, obviously. Oops, and that just, so I'm going to have to do something in there. But I'm also thinking I may leave this fairly untouched. I may come in and just in these dark areas, come in with something. This, I'm not sure how much I'm going to do. Maybe I'm just going to do a running stitch around the edge and leave it alone. I try not to overthink it. I try to just start doing something. Another thing that I do is if I have thread on a needle, I use that thread up. So I've got this sheep silk. When you design a piece like your eyeglasses case, is that all pre-planned or random? Sally, that's a great question. So the glasses case and the scissors case were both done on the computer. I started with a sketch, and then I went to my computer program and I designed the whole thing on the computer. And I do that sometimes. I will design a whole piece on the computer. But these pieces, which are very much what I'm calling improvisational stitching, I am like improv. I'm winging it. I'm taking what I got. So with this, I'm taking my thread that I have here, and I'm going to do a whole bunch of little bouillon knots right here. And then once I get sort of tired of that, I'll do something else. She hasn't arrived. My scrim arrived today. Oh, hi, Denny. Your friend never came. Well, that was not very nice. And you've been waiting for a half an hour. So here we go. So I'm going to do a whole bunch of bouillon knots here. And I like to do, as many of you know who've watched these, I like to work in clusters. I like to repeat a stitch over and over, and then maybe I come back and I do some other stitch in a different thread, or maybe I come back with a different thread and do more of these bouillon knots. One of the reasons I am having to use my pliers is because this is a chenille needle and I'm doing a wrap stitch. And as you know, the chenille needle is not for wrap stitches. A milliner's needle is for wrap stitches, and I should be using a milliner's. So Belinda asked about the computer, and I think that was a joke, Belinda, but I'm going to answer it anyway. So often what I do with the computer is I have a program that I really like, and I taught myself how to use it, and it was not easy to teach myself how to use. You weren't joking? You were being serious? Okay. So the computer program that I have is EQ8, Electric Quilt. It's really for quilting, but I use it to design blocks. And I can show you. I designed I'll answer Pat in a second. She's asking what are the stitches in the green area. I designed my rhino pouch on EQ8. I think this was my first design that I put up on Etsy. And then I designed my abstract pouch also on EQ8. You can see it. I designed both of my needle rolls on EQ8. So I designed this. I designed my scissor and my eyeglasses case, which are the designs that are most recent, and I can't show them to you because I just shipped them off to my mother as her gift. I designed my river rocks as well as my river rocks is, oh, thank you, Gwen. She's saying the otter needle roll is one of my favorites. So river rocks I designed on EQ8. As well as rock gardens, the rice variation on a rice bag. So it's the only ones that I'm not designing on EQ8 are these, this one, Olia right here, which is what I'm calling improvisational stitching. And this one, as well as this, which I'm not sure what I'm doing with this. Maybe nothing. This kind of turned into a, thank you, Lynn. She's saying, I love Olia. That turned out nicely, that one. This really was used as a sampler, and I think I might just keep doing that with it and not have any bigger plans. But this one I have bigger plans. I'm definitely thinking more than, oh, I'll just use this to demonstrate, whatever. I'd like to finish it and have it be something, something that I like design-wise. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. All right, Pat asked me, what are the stitches I used on the green? And I'll show you. So I started with Aurora, and I did, let's see, which Aurora was it? This one. This is the Thread Gatherer Ethiopian Rocks, and I did a seed stitch, just a regular seed stitch. Then I went back and I did this, which I think is a sheep's silk, and I did my drizzles. Then I went back with, don't remember what this is. It's a 5-weight House of Embroidery, and I did these very loose 2 and 3 wrap French knots. Then I came back with this, the sheep silk, which is really an 8-weight thread, and I did these big, long seed stitches. And here was the reason. This green is really intense and dark, and I really wanted it to not show as much. So I figure when it's sewn, there's my seam allowance. I may go back and even fill in even more with a lighter color. I just wanted a tiny bit of a suggestion of that dark green without it taking over. And if I hadn't done all of that, it would have, oh, I wasn't thinking. Okay. Sometimes you can save it even when you pull through a bouillon. So we're just going to try to save this. Did you see I pulled it through and didn't wrap it? And now I'm going to try to see if I can, there. Sometimes you can. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep doing these bouillon knots, I think, in this kind of direction, and then they're going to end where this cheesecloth is. And then I'll probably come back with I think I need a heavier weight thread now, and I'm going to do something in here. I'm not sure about this. This was really done to demonstrate a thread, how to wrap a wooden bead. I might leave it. I might add to it. Do you ever frame these pieces? I haven't, and I haven't done anything with Olia, and it's finished, and I don't know what to do with it, really. I mean, there it is. So what to do with it? I don't know. It's, I thought, well, maybe I should put batting and a lining and actually do some free motion quilting. Is your linen-based cloth is soft and yes, it is. Marcia's asking, is it soft? It is. These are both soft. They're actually cotton linen blends, and they have a more open weave, so they're really nice to stitch with. They are not a handkerchief weight, but they're the next, whatever the next weight is from handkerchief, I think. I don't think this is considered handkerchief, no. And I like how they take the paint, and I can easily stitch on them, and I can add layers. Stretch Olia to a canvas with no frame. Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Kind of had this idea that I was gonna do a that I was maybe gonna put batting and a lining and free motion quilt in there, but I'm not sure, you know? I don't know. I'm gonna wait until I have some great idea, which means I may never have a great idea. All right, I'm gonna come back. I think I can do one more bouillon here. And then I have to, oh, thank you. That's so nice of you. She's saying just stunning and truly inspiring. Cotton linen, Marcia. Yes, thanks. I love how easily it seems to handle. Yeah, I do too. I'm fairly, you could quilt and still stretch. Yes, your idea will come in the middle of the night. Exactly, Lynn, because I do tend to wake up in the middle of the night. And then, so I may just not do this. I may, I've been talking away and not paying attention. I think I'm going to end my thread, and then I will start a new color. And here's my little bowl, which Merlin is not happy with me about because this has been his bowl. But I kind of just threw a bunch of stuff in here thinking, you know, I'll just toss stuff in. And I've been adding to it. So I think I might grab something. Oh, isn't this beautiful? Look at this. This is Salt Marsh Oriental Linen from the Thread Gatherer. She said she wasn't sure if she was going to continue these, so I bought 4 skeins of them. I wish I'd bought like 8 skeins of them. Where did you get that pretty bowl? So the bowl is from a man, this lovely man, who is from Senegal, and he sells these on the street on 5th Avenue on the weekend. And so I bought 2 of them, and they're really big. Will you use any beading on this piece? And yes, I will, I think. So I bought 2 of them, and Merlin likes this one to sit in because I have it right over here. The problem is that I also, you know, I actually did buy it for me to use, but, you know, Merlin doesn't care about any of that. So I think I will use some beading. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at this and thought, oh, I need beading. You know, maybe I'll put some beading in here. Don't know. So yeah, I'm going to continue with my bouillon knots there. I want to bring in some rust or maybe this kind of almost adobe brick color, or maybe I also have this, which, by the way, I found under the table as I was on my hands and knees. And I think this would be pretty. And then I've got this Aurora, which also I think would be pretty. Lots of autumnal colors. I think I need some purple, some deep purple, you know, to add in here. I have this, which, let me show you this. I bought this. Are you happier with the linen since you have changed it so much? It's becoming a thing of beauty. Lynn says, yes, I wasn't happy before, and I am happier now. So look at this silk ribbon. Isn't this beautiful? Look at how it's dyed. Will you go basket shopping for us, Karen says. Yes, I love shopping. I bought this at M&J Trimmings, which I did a come with me on my little exploration of New York City. It was I went to Gotham Quilt Shop, and on the way, and got lost. And on the way, I went to M&J Trimming, and I photographed a little, and I bought this there. Isn't this fabulous? But I totally think this would be fun to use, this silk ribbon. It's very wide, but I could ruche it, you know? And the bowl is rock star. Yeah, it is. I love this. Yeah, so You know, maybe I'll add some blue in here. Don't know. But that's kind of where I'm at, and I haven't really figured out what I'm doing with my t-shirt here. I may add it, I may unpin it and discard it. I think what I have to do is figure out what I'm gonna stitch in here if I'm going to stitch, and then the t-shirt will make sense or it won't, and I'll remove it. Thanks, Jean. So, I think that's it for today. I really appreciate all of you coming and hanging out with me and watching and asking great questions, and we will do this again soon. Bye, everyone. You have taught us editing is okay. Exactly, Pat. Thank you. All right, everyone. Thanks so much.